Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday evening sessions at the Manhattan Meditation Center. So today's topic that we're going to reflect on is overcoming limiting self-beliefs. Right? I'm sure we all limit ourselves in some way or the other, right? I'm studying, for example. I have my own limitations. I feel like, sometimes I feel I cannot work out through this problem. Sometimes I feel, my professor is not letting me work on this problem. So we create all these kind of limited beliefs in our mind. So welcome, and Sister Ines with us here today. She'll be helping us reflect on how can we really attack the root, what really limits us, and what creates these limitations in our mind. And as we go through tonight's reflection, by the end of it, we hope that we get some insights, and then we could take those insights into our daily lives, and we could put them into practical action. This series is itself called Wisdom in Action. Right? So unless and until we put it in action, we won't really reap the benefits of it. Welcome once again. Over to you, Sister Ines.
Good evening and welcome to our welcome again, warm welcome. You want to move a little bit so we can have eye contact? Very nice. Appreciate, thank you. Because you're here the first time, right? Yeah, wow, wonderful. So again, very warm welcome to everyone here in person at the center, but also to all of you on Zoom. It's lovely to be here and be with you this evening. I've been absent for some time, and I'm especially pleased because here it feels like family, friends. We are together here, right? So it's very beautiful. Many old friends. So this evening, we want to look a little bit at how these limiting self-beliefs, beliefs that I have about myself, that will hold me back in my enthusiasm, in my willpower, even in many, many different ways. Those, like the name says it already, it will limit me in many, many different ways in life. I will not thrive in life, and there will be always struggle, and mostly internally. But before we go or get really warmed up, I want to invite all of us to just take a moment of silence, yeah, and use that moment to also just check in with yourself, where you are at. So as you sit comfortably, just take a moment to become aware of the environment, the surrounding. Just take note of it, your body, the posture of your body. And then take it a step deeper, closer to the heart. And just ask yourself that simple question, how you're feeling, where you are at, without having to do anything. And have the intention to whatever you see or feel as you look at yourself, have the intention to just be an observer, zero judgment, but like a mother, unlimited in her love. If you find that you feel very well, if you find there are some unpleasant sensations, feelings, or thoughts, emerge that unlimited light of a mother, unlimited light of love of a mother in you, and embrace yourself with whatever is without having to change anything. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is what it is. Embrace yourself internally with that pure love, that intention of being my best friend, being my own mother. And whatever I'm holding, guarding, defending, let's see if I can just drop it and relax and look at the part of myself that embodies that pure light of love. Which is the same light and love of God, the benefactor, the ocean of love. And in case there are any distorted thoughts or feelings, the mind stuck somewhere or keeps going back to some memory, whatever is, ask yourself, can I be okay with that? Can I simply accept myself as I am? And do I choose to stay there? Or do I choose to move towards love or even joy? Nothing needs to be fixed inside, but the intention, what is it that I truly and deeply in my heart want? Genuinely looking for. And just give in into that joy or love or peace that is within us. By letting go of what I was holding on to Just allow yourself to be carried towards your higher, your pure self, into your own light. It is a choice, and the shift can happen in a second. Om Shanti. So I want to look this evening at, when we talk about belief system, in the context of self-esteem. Self-esteem is a relatively modern term, but everyone familiar with that. And how would you define self-esteem? Very simply, what does that mean to you? Can you take the mic?
It's how you feel about yourself. It's a way of how you feel about yourself.
The way I feel myself, yeah, very nice, very nice. So we are of course looking for or at the high, true self-esteem or higher self-esteem, not the low one. And so it is, a simple way to look at it is, how do I feel at any given moment about myself? Not just how, but to feel good about myself at any given moment. And we will hear this evening we will speak about the lower self-esteem, the high self-esteem, but then there's the true self-esteem. And that really connects us to deep with our spiritual truth. In the world, or how we are used to look at our esteem, and there are several steps, they say about 8 steps to build self-esteem, but mostly in the world we would build in based on in order to gain self-confidence, to have self-trust, when we look at our own value, when we look at the worth of us, it will always be connected to something physical from this world, what I have, what I have accumulated, what I have been given. And then we feel good because we have something. I have achieved something, I have earned something, I have a lot of money, I've studied a lot. I got a new pair of shoes, very trivial, very small, but we can take joy and happiness from many little things from this world, but then also education or the family I'm born into, the woman, the man I've married, different aspects of life, right? But it will always be very limited. Feeling good about the self also includes feeling good about myself in a very genuine way. At times when we are criticized, when people not reflect back the best within us or of themselves, right? So at time of challenge, at at the time of stress, at the time of uncertainty, can I still maintain high self-esteem? So to feel good about myself in such a way where I'm also of use for, or be able to be of benefit, bring benefit, be of use to the world, to others, right? Because if I feel good about myself, that's wonderful. But I'm not alone on this planet. We are all connected, right? So if I have something that is useful, then it needs to be shared. No one is here for themselves or just by themselves. And the more we share, the more these qualities, good things will come back into our lives, right? But for that, someone has to be very genuine inside, generous, open-hearted, willing to give. That means also not to be miser, not to fear to lose anything, right? And if we take our esteem, our value, our worth, different steps of self-esteem, or in building self-esteem from the world, whatever it is that makes me feel good, right? Where I build my inner strength or build my esteem on, I can lose it. It can be taken away from me, right? Maybe, I was very brave and I've worked a lot and had a lot of fortune and a lot of luck and acquired a lot of wonderful, lot of money, lot of things, objects, houses, I'm able to travel, but maybe what happens to me when I cannot do this anymore, right? And so it becomes very fragile. How am I able to maintain inner stability, clarity, lightness, my peace, and my generosity, for example, even at times of challenge? Now, that has to come, then the foundation for that has to come from within, where we build our inner strength based on our spiritual identity, based on our spiritual truth. And there are three qualities that really, if we take that up and go deep into the reflection of those, now this is also a little bit of a homework for you, then that will empower us a great deal. So one is my uniqueness. Not necessarily, definitively not at the physical level, but at the more subtle spiritual level, we are all unique. No one is like me. If we are in our limited consciousness, in a consciousness where I am very small or very big, inferior or superior, ego basically, right? So then we are there will be a lot of fluctuation, there will be no stability. That ego will not allow me to create a state of mind, remain stable, maintain it and sustain it, and then have that clarity, have that ability to act in order to bring benefit to myself and to others. When we connect to our uniqueness at the spiritual level, and I really cherish that, I respect that quality of uniqueness, then there is no need to compare myself with anyone. Compare. When we are in our limited consciousness, now one quality that we, or tendency that we develop is that we compare ourselves all the time with someone, right? And that becomes a problem. At the physical level, we are all very different, and there will always be someone who has more or better, or is better, can do more, whatever way I compare myself with someone. And so I'm setting myself up for failure. To make mistakes, if things don't work out, is not necessarily a failure. But if I compare myself with someone else, and then I want to be like that one or have things that one has, that will put me into trouble. So if I focus on my spiritual truth, on my spiritual identity, and accept that I am a unique being and that everyone is unique, so where my attention then now needs to go? To someone else? Or back to myself? And I think that's where the challenge is. We got like so habituated to look outside, give attention to others, what they do, how they are, what they wear, what they have, you know. So this is something to think about. I am a unique being. And then you can reflect on that. Now, where is my uniqueness? How do I manifest my uniqueness? What is unique within? So what makes us also valuable will contribute to my uniqueness, right? You wanted to say something?
It's like self-esteem. You can't have self-esteem without self-respect. And the question I have is always, where do you find self-respect? And it ends up being in the virtues that I find within myself.
Right. So to respect the self, I have to know myself, understand myself, but also at the deeper level, not only at the physical level. But self-respect is also linked to something that is even deeper, and that is my self-value. And in what way do I value myself, and in what way, what is it that I value? What are my values in life? And again, when they are on a physical level, then they become very limited. But like you're saying, the virtues referring to the innate goodness of the being, that connects to my value, but also it connects to the beauty of the being. So uniqueness, beauty, and value. These are three very, very important aspects of our spiritual truth, that when we use them, we will also learn to respect the self. And we are not looking at material aspects, physical aspects, but qualities such as peace, love, joy, respect, kindness.
And all of those are forms of beauty?
That's what, when I manifest them, that's then when we come to our self-worth, right? What's the worth of the being is connected to my value. But only when that value, my innate goodness, these beautiful qualities manifest through this body, through my expression. And if you're kind to someone, there's benefit, no? You open hearts, people are happy, you feel good. So, naturally, this is a very good contribution. It increases the worth of the being also. Why I started out with self-esteem is because that if we have any old limited beliefs lingering in us, they will not allow us to actually be the one I want to be the one that I truly am, and that is happy, truly happy, fulfilled. Yeah. So the limiting self-beliefs come from a consciousness that is very physical. We can also call it, we grow up, you're born into a family, you grow up in a family, in a certain culture, certain religion, you go to work, you go to school, you go to work. There's a lot of conditioning that's happening, especially growing up, the first years in family. Family has a lot of influence, right? And then when you think about, there are different generations, so things are handed over generation to generation and become stronger and stronger in terms of certain traditions that people believe in, certain customs, certain systems. And there are many different cultures, there are many different religions. People have all sorts of beliefs and opinions. And so when we grow up as children, we are expected to adhere to the belief system, to the expectations of parents, society, right? So we are told what they want to see from us, receive from us, what we should give. This whole world of I should, you should be like this, behave like that, look like this. When you're at age X, you should have accomplished this, your life should look like that. So many expectations for our whole life coming from parents, society, different people. And we, as we grow up, we want to, because it's the only thing that we can do, no? But many times what happens is if you don't adhere to the directions of the parents or elders, you get punished for it. You get told off, forced in different ways, so it's like you're brainwashed of how you have to be, it's being said to you so many times. And so, as a child, you don't have the capacity to discern, to think through many things, because your brain is still not developed that much at a very early age, sorry. But then even as we grow up, and so you kind of believe you have to fulfill what they are asking you to do or to be, right? But if you don't live up to their expectations, they start to reflect back something to you that is not necessarily very kind, very genuine, very loving. And so if this happens many times, I start to, then this thought starts to come, no? Eventually we take it against the self. I am not good, I can't do. Something wrong with me. Things are not going right, life is not good. So we are drawing conclusions, creating an image about, a belief about myself that is defective, simply because I was not able to live up to what was expected from me. So there's a negative feedback, and if that happens repeatedly over a period of time, then I start to believe something not right with me. And that then becomes habit to think in this way. It becomes an illusion, that belief now. Eventually, first it starts out with thoughts, right? But then it becomes that belief, that illusion, I can't do, I am like this. Yes?
Even within the word should, even inherent within the word should is a comparison. Do you know what I mean? There's no word should without a comparison.
Right, right. This is what I want you. I am the elder, I am the big one, I have the right to tell you. So this whole consciousness, I have a right over you, coming from a consciousness that we refer to as being body conscious versus soul conscious, where you recognize that even in this little body there is a living being, and to respect that being. And the being, the spirit, existed even before it came into this body. So how can I have ownership over anyone or anything? So this, in a worldly manner also, high self-esteem or whole aspect of self-esteem is all rooted in how I see myself. The image I create and hold about myself, the beliefs of who I am, of how I see myself. And then especially if there are adverse situations in childhood where I get emotionally overwhelmed, I'm not able to handle and then not able to process things because it was just too much, it was overwhelming. You're left with a trauma. And in that case, your vision for yourself is really totally destroyed. And to the extent that there's a negative self-image within my own self, I have adopted it from the outside in ignorance, right? I didn't come up with it, but what was fed back to me, that information was not necessarily of love, and didn't give me the space to, like a flower, to open up and bring out what is inside of me. No, I had to close down and become someone based on that what I believed I had to follow, right, which came from the outside to me. And if that happens at early age, then I can never blossom locked in, and we carry that through our whole life. Ideally, with the ideal parents, there is no punishment, there is support of the child, love of the child, where the child is able to unfold its own self. You're giving space for that being to be its own self, and you respect that being. Yes, there is guidance, there's responsibility from the parent, and guidance definitively. But that whole aspect of giving respect, not to impose or force. There's no, in the ideal situation, there's no selfish motive of the parent. I want the child to be in a certain way. So, of course, what we are all interested in is how can we become free of those limitations that we have acquired, that we made part of our own self. But we have to realize that, yes, maybe mom and dad expected certain things, I didn't live up to that, but at the same time it's not their fault. Because how it works is that I then start to have thoughts and draw conclusions based on that, and then I feed myself with that. So it's an automatic mechanism, and no one is to blame for that. This I find is also very, very important in the journey moving forward, where we want to become free, liberate ourselves from all the unhealthy ways of thinking and believing about the self. No one really is to blame for anything in this world. But if I understand the mechanism a little bit, then it will also encourage me to take responsibility for myself. And I just want to give a few examples of the thoughts that start to emerge and that hint, or behaviors actually, because all these beliefs that we carry, they manifest in certain behaviors. Of course, there's a certain way of thinking, but it also manifests in behaviors. And, different behaviors, what does that mean? What is it telling me about myself, and how do I liberate myself? But for that is also very, very important to have that understanding that, and this is something very, very beautiful, we touched on it already, is this my spiritual identity, my spiritual truth, right, is telling me that, is telling us, each one of us, we are, so to speak, born, pure, free, peaceful, loving, joyful, happy beings. We are not born defective. We started our journey in a state of where we are complete and full of that light of peace, of love, of joy, right? And you need to take time to reflect on that also, because if I want to become free of something, what is it that I want to be? So there is a letting go, but what is it that I want to manifest? What is it that I want to fill myself with? That's where the energy needs to go, right? So my reference point of myself is, yes, I don't experience myself as such, maybe, but at least I have come to know that deep within there is only goodness, but being suppressed. It got distorted for many different reasons. And if that is the case, the original goodness can be restored. I can connect with it, and I can emerge it, I can use it, make it mine again. in terms of experience and expression. And then someone who is able to be their true self in a more consistent way, or is working with the self at this level, will have high self-esteem. That doesn't mean there are no problems, no challenges, but what matters is when limitations emerge, what is it that I do? Do I recognize it? How do I deal with it? Do I give in? Or do I make consciously, I choose and make a shift? That's where willpower comes in. Do you understand? So it's also a little bit, another belief, another illusion is that when there is high self-esteem, or if I have reached a certain stage, there are no problems anymore. That is an illusion. But what matters is, how do I deal with myself, with others, when there are limitations that show up, limitations in different ways when they are expressed. And so someone who has when someone has true self-esteem, that means someone who has a very healthy relationship with their own inner world. You are in touch with your inner world and you are relating to yourself in such a way you will always look for a solution. You will not entertain the darkness. You will also not beat yourself up because certain negative thoughts came or you made a mistake. No, you will be very compassionate. So you will use your higher self, your true self, to help that part within you that is limited, that has become limited. But not with force, not with violence, but in a very genuine way. It's very simple. No, we all like to help others. And many of you, if not everyone, must have had experiences that at one point you have helped someone. They were sad, they were angry, they were desperate, they were hopeless, they were in need, and you attended them. And you were able to give comfort, right? So, even at this time, where there's so much chaos in the world and chaos in our own lives, we are still able to express goodness towards others. We are also able to do the other thing, the opposite, but there's also that goodness, that ability of comforting others, of giving support to others. But the calling of the time at this point, I find, for all of us, is to learn to give that to the self. And the more I can give that to myself, the more we will be able to also extend that support to others around us. Yeah? Someone who has a healthy relationship with the self, they will not mind to face challenging moments, difficult peoples, negative traits or expressions or forms, energies that emerge within themselves. But such one will face the self, face the situation, and look towards a solution. What is it that I can do here to turn things around, instead of, avoiding and not wanting to see or hear it and being afraid. And so a big force that drives limited self-beliefs is fear, right? So if we want to become free of limitations, then we will also have to be willing to look at the many different fears that we have. And that's really kind of, in essence, where the so-called problem lies. There are fears that we carry, and therefore there is a certain behaving ultimately. Did you ever find yourself that you avoid someone, that you avoid people? We human beings are basically mirrors for each other. We're doing it not consciously, it's habitually, it's coming from subconscious. And the mirroring, we are not mirroring back the best of us. But what I see, if I have any negativity, any form of negativity inside of me, I will see the negative in the other one. So someone is behaving in a certain way that doesn't suit me, that I call disrespectful, I don't like it. And what will I do? I will react to it. Ordinary human being will react, right? So what will come back to that person is a reaction. So, but I don't like that reaction of that person. Not understanding that that one is basically mirroring back to me my own energy. And so I start to avoid, because certain people in my presence behave in a certain way towards me. Right? And so if we want to look towards a solution, then I understand that I will not mind to face my own self. And I get what that one with their own reaction is mirroring back from me is not my whole self, my complete self, but some kind of negativity that has become part of me. And so now it's my own responsibility to remind myself of who I truly am, and not to react back, but to kind of break the chain. Right? There is fear of seeing my own reflection. That's the fear. So what I will need to do in order to overcome that, I will have to learn to accept. And so you can ask yourself, what is it that I am afraid of when I see that mirror? Or through that mirror, certain behaviors, certain traits. What is it that I am afraid of? And that reflecting also on that whole aspect, the whole machinery, that person is not a bad person. That person is reacting to something that has first of all come from me. And so if I'm willing to see that, then I can let go of it. Do you understand? Because if I keep avoiding, I avoid the other person, but it's actually I'm avoiding to see something that has become part of me. And the more I remind myself, that's why your homework is, that's where the practice needs to be. The practice needs to be very much around practicing, taking moments throughout the day, practicing, reminding yourself of who you truly are, connecting to your light. Because if you empower yourself in this way, then there is strength and capacity to also, I don't need to be afraid of the darkness anymore once I know who I am. You understand? Nick, you want to speak?
So it's actually a nice sign or signal when you meet somebody that rubs you the wrong way. You can see it as a signal that, oh, that's something I have to work on within myself. That's all I want to say.
This one is just showing something about myself. But of course, it's also true that not everyone, some people, they just react no matter what, right? Even if we... But it's always, if I have self-respect, right, I will still take a look at myself and make my own judgment and see if what is shown, what I get to see through the other one, has this anything to do with me? Is there, what did I do? What attitude did I express? Was there anything at a subtle level that was not clean, not pure? Was there anything selfish, agenda or something that provoked that person, that made that person react to? Because if I'm purely coming from my angel self, from my highest self, from my pure self, in the purest form, it is impossible to trigger negativity in the other one. The other one will see the light in you. You understand? But it depends also to the level of wherever the other person is, can always pick up something. You might have 90 qualities, but or 99% of qualities, goodness, and 0.1% of darkness, and that one might just pick on that darkness. But still, I can use it for myself. And if I don't have as a high self-esteem, if I'm not connected to my spiritual, to my true light, whatever is being reflected back to me, I will use it against myself. Either sabotage myself or, put the whole blame on the other person, which doesn't help me, doesn't help the relationship at all. So the whole understanding, there's no need to be afraid of anyone. And if that one is not mirroring back, then even better, then be stable in your own light and understand that that one is in need, is under some influence. What is it that I am afraid of? Because many have fear. I mean, I can speak from my own experience, fear of the anger of others. But it's also a fear that I have created when I was little, when one of the big ones repeatedly was very loud, aggressive, towards the child, then you become fearful. So all these fears got created, and we took it in, but I can let go of them. Because deeper within, there is that pure you that's free of that. That's another interesting one, especially here in New York City, the habit of being always in a hurry. So, do you think you have that habitual rushing all the time? Yeah? So I was researching a little bit today, right? So I thought this is a very interesting one, because if I always rush, if this is a habit, right, I'm afraid of not being on time, for example. Now, why am I afraid of not being on time?
It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel, yeah. But also, if I'm not, it feels not good, for example, because I may have the experience in my consciousness that when I was not on time, there was a big beating going on.
I think it also stems from just expecting more out of yourself. So like when you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it, kills also the self-esteem.
Yeah, that's also, yeah.
Not owning what you said you were going to do, so you lose trust for yourself.
Right, so if I set these aims for myself, it's good to fulfill them, put them into action. That will certainly boost the esteem, yeah. So if I always rushing, it's good to, for all of these kind of analysis or self-reflection, you need to take a little bit of time, value yourself, take time for yourself. And it's not difficult, but I just need to give the time to myself and ask yourself, like, what is behind this fear? What is it? Whom do I want to please, for example? Or am I afraid of behavior of someone? Right? So that doesn't mean I have to please. It will not strengthen me, right? But I also, you do the best that you can, but also not come out of fearing the behavior of others. And for that, I need to be grounded in my own self-respect. But at the same time, of course, you don't want to provoke, right? So few thoughts to look at here. Being critical of others is always connected to, and many of us have this habit, right? Having always some extra thoughts, some even negative thoughts, critical thoughts about someone's behavior, what they are doing, what they are not doing. It's always connected to some kind of not feeling secure within your own self. So there's a false sense of security that I'm protecting. And then here the acceptance is very important. Learning to accept everyone as they are. Everyone has the right to be, and everyone has the right to express themselves. If this is it's positive or negative, it's out of my control. It's not my right to, tell others what they have to do or not to do. But this is a very common belief and way of dealing with people. So giving everyone acceptance of who they are, and you need to be in your own self-respect and have self-acceptance, and not to expect from others also at the same time. There are some people who constantly want to argue. And I thought this one is a very interesting one. Someone who constantly looks for an argument. And the way they're speaking, asking you, looking at you, they're provoking, they want to argue. And this is actually connected with a fear of being wrong. So they will always want to have the last word because they want to be right. We connect it with a controlling mechanism of wanting to have control over others, right? I am right, that means you are wrong. But it's like a fear within them of not being right, the fear of wrong prompts them over and over to argue, and to have the last word. to prove themselves that they are right. And so to come out of that, being argumentative, I have to understand that ultimately, from the spiritual perspective, there's no right or wrong. And everyone, like we said before, has the right to be themselves, to express themselves based on their choice. And everyone has their own opinion. So I also have the right to voice myself, but that doesn't mean everyone has to think in the same way, right? So everyone is right in their own way, because you have your own history and experiences, and that's a reality for you. For someone else, it's a different reality. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. I think we kind of covered most of them. So basically, to round it up or to bring it together again, to have that faith, and it's actually connected to spiritual study also, where you learn about it, learn about the self, that faith in the self, the faith in the goodness of the self, but it's a goodness that I carry with me in my being, in my consciousness, and which is independent of my physical situation, condition, what I have or don't have. So it's purely spiritual, and I need that faith and touch base with that purest part within me over and over again to empower myself. And then I can look at those thoughts that weaken me, because the thoughts that weaken me, that take me away from my inner strength, from my love, from my peace, they are connected to one or another belief I carry within me, right? And so if I'm empowered and I learn a little bit about myself, then we are able to see the fear within, one or another fear, one after another, without being afraid of the fear, for example, without judging it, without feeling bad about it, but being very neutral and understand, and I can do something about it. It's in my own, lies within my own hands, my own consciousness, right? And then it takes a little bit of practice and making the shift towards the light. But we have to be attentive, and you have to observe your thoughts, your mind a little bit, because I am not good, I cannot do that. These are like warning signals, so we have to catch them, and for that you also have to practice learning to look within, turn within, become quiet, become still, rest within your own purity, within your own stillness, where you can then more and more see what is going on inside without judging. And then I have a choice. Yeah? Is there any question or comment before we close?
What is beautiful that I'm especially taking away is that kindness is true kindness is a verb, is an action, are actions of good. So whenever you use kindness, if you use it connected to your higher self, they can only take it as good. And that's beautiful.
So I need to reflect on it, think about it deeply, and be kind to myself means learn, develop to have an empowering relationship with your own self. How you deal with yourself, that means when darkness, doubts, in form of doubts, for example, emerges in form of negative thoughts, make mistakes, but you have to give it. That's why meditation is also so important. You have to give quality time for yourself, not hours, few minutes, but regularly, where you engage with yourself in a beneficial way, where you remind yourself of your spiritual light and connect to it and make yourself familiar with it. Go into the experience. Just the fact that I take time and have these thoughts for myself brings so much benefit. It strengthens us. And then, when I am connected to the light, so that will take some time, you do it frequently, then gradually you start to look at the dark dots in form of fears, for example, certain behaviors, and then learn to address it, reflect on how, looking towards a solution, but in a very, very kind, very beneficial way. Okay? Anyone else? All right, so then let's just sit quietly for a moment. Relax the body. And just one pure intention to connect inwardly and choose a quality of your choice that you want to connect with. And we dive deep into the self, to the core of my being, where all these treasures, different virtues, qualities, the goodness lies, where there is only light, where I am full and complete. So choose a quality of your choice. And maybe a quality that you see more so in others and less in the self. But now you know that you also have it. And so with that pure intention, you connect to the self, to touch base, see that quality of your choice that you may previously have thought of, that you don't have it or not enough of it. Look at the core of your being and see how the whole being is filled with the light of that particular quality. It's my quality. I have it in my soul, in my consciousness, in my heart. Allow yourself to feel it, embrace it, embody it, become it, be it. It is an illusion that I lacking of any treasure, of any quality. We all have all the beautiful qualities, absolute beauty within. With that faith, you connect inwardly and emerge it consciously. And allow yourself to move into your heart, where you start to feel it. Feel it more. Fill your being with it. Let it expand. Become that quality. Be that quality. And so as I then, in few moments, leave the room, wherever you go, whatever you will do, keep the awareness of that quality with you and see if you can use it tonight, tomorrow, throughout the day, for yourself and for others. Reinforce that quality in you and manifest it in one or another physical expression. Om Shanti. Thank you.